Welcome to another live First We Live. Well, I'm working on something that is called First We Live, but the lives are gonna be First We Live. So, and today, uh, I was watching uh, the hearing with Kimberly Cheadle. I believe that's how you pronounced her last name. That is the Secret Service director of the United States. That, well, she essentially is in charge of handling the situations with the Secret Service, and that includes what happened with Donald Trump, as you guys probably know already by now. Um, because I mean, this happened like a week ago, and I mean, it's circled everywhere, right? It's gone everywhere, and so now she is in she's having to answer all these questions. And something interesting about this hearing is, well, more like something that catches my attention about this, and about this hearing, is her unwillingness to answer so many of these questions. And now I understand why she would be hesitant to answer some of these questions, and why she is um, very careful about what she is going to say, how she's going to answer these questions, how she's going to say what she has to say, right? If she says anything, because so it's just interesting because everything, like, well, not everything, but they, because she does answer some questions, but, and this is not going to be a political thing, okay? Right now, what I'm trying to get at is what this made me think about. Okay. But the thing is that she's not answering a lot of these questions. And some of these questions, it seems like maybe she doesn't know the exact answers. Like, she doesn't know exactly the stuff that they're asking her to 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 testify, essentially. But taking it to more regular kind of life, here's what this made me think about. Through life, a lot of the times we are very, very unwilling to answer questions when we are being, in some shape or form, interrogated. Let me turn on the chat just in case here. Legend. So, a lot of the times in our lives, we will be unwilling to answer certain questions. At least most people, like the majority of people, will be unwilling to answer a lot of the questions that you ask them, especially when they are some happened and you're wanting to know what happened. I don't know why the need, well, I guess I do know to a certain extent why people want to, instead of saying what actually happened, they start to sort of tiptoe around what actually happened, or they'll just avoid the questions, or they'll actually just make something up so that, I don't know, they can move on. We can move on with the conversation or whatnot, right? And so seeing the hearing and hearing her not answer any of these kinds of questions really took me back to some conversations that I've had with some people, and sometimes just seeing some behavior from some people that, it's like, why didn't you just say what actually happened, right? Now, I don't know that here, the director of the Secret Services is actually not want nah, you could tell that she's not wanting to answer some of these questions. But um to to our in our lives, it'll be like, from simple day-to-day stuff, if we carry ourselves in certain ways, from simple day-to-day stuff to something huge like a hearing because the president just they attempted to kill the president, and you are in charge of all this stuff, right? It goes from simple to that big, to those kinds of details, to those kinds of events. So my thing is, look, I have heard people that maybe you have a spouse, maybe you have a girlfriend, maybe you have a right, and it's like you come out of work and you come out at a particular time, and your girl hits you up and says, "Hey, you're taking a little bit longer. Where you at?" And instead of just saying, "Oh, I stopped at 7-Eleven to get something," people are so quick to just say, I don't know, the first thing that pops to their head, and so I'm still like they're they will just go into a defensive kind of form, and they will be making up something now that is not even real, that when you get to your actual house, when you get to your actual house, you're going to have to answer now in such a way that hopefully is in line with the lies that you have already made up. And so you continue down that path, and next thing you know, you're building up a life that is literally down a path of making things up that are not true, lying, and you're going to have to cover all those lies, all those made up things, all the things that you have details that you might have manipulated, all these kinds of things. At some point, the tail is so long, and some people are going to be stepping on it, and you're going to have to say what actually happened. And my thing is, okay, and I've talked about this before. The white lies are unnecessary. They're unnecessary, really. Like, you don't have to make up something than what actually happened. Hey, what's up, brother? You don't have to make up something than what actually happened. You know, you don't. But in it seems to be like a default setting, because we tend to not have the awareness of what we're doing on the spot, or we tend to not have the awareness um, of the things that we're saying. And so then later on, we have to sort of, when we get questioned about it, the thing that comes to us is, I gotta defend my ego. I gotta make sure I'm not caught lying. I gotta make sure that all these other things, right? So, sorry, I need some water. So it's almost like the nature of humans is to be more careless. It's almost like the nature of humans is to really not have that much awareness. It's almost like the nature of humans is to be more spontaneous and there's a word, reactive. It's almost like humans will be more reactive. I have had the thought that I think it's easier for humans to be bad than good. It's easier for humans um, to behave in a way of ignorance than to try to analyze, than to try to actually think about what they're doing on the spot, about what they're gonna say next. And if you're thinking about what you're doing on the spot, then you can calculate whether or not, based on what might happen or what might your decision cause, or these types of things, right? You're starting to get that awareness. Sorry. But it's easier to just do things out of ignorance. And you know what? If you're ignorant, you don't even, like, if you're somebody trying to cause harm, if you're somebody trying to be bad, and I use that the whole term bad lightly, okay? Because obviously the idea of that things are good or things are bad, right? But if you're trying to do something that you know is harmful to someone else and whatnot, and you decide that's your nature, that you're gonna do that, not even that that's your nature, but that you're gonna be, that's what you're gonna do, that you're gonna go and do that, right? There's you have the less of the guilt feeling, you have less of the, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this because if I do that, then maybe this and that, right? It's a lot easier to just move in that path than to say, man, with every decision that I make, I have to think that much. I really have to think that much for every decision that I make. You really think I should, like, whenever if I'm gonna throw some trash outside, I have to think about the person, the people that pick up the trash. Do I really have to think about um the community that I'm in and stuff? Do I really have to think about the trash workers, the garbage workers? Do I really have to think about all this stuff and then make my decision? Man, that sounds like a hassle. That's right. Sounds like a hassle to a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to think. I'll tell you guys, I think I've mentioned this before, but one thing that really marked me, that kind of showed me, you know what? People actually don't want to think. People don't really want to think. People order through, not people. One time I ordered, somebody ordered through, was it DoorDash or Uber? I think it might have been DoorDash or Uber. I can't remember. But I was delivering some orders. And this person, I had to call them back because the restaurant that they ordered from didn't have an item that they wanted. So the people in the restaurant asked me, okay, hey, we don't have that. Can you call them and let them know if they want to replace it with a different flavor or a different this? So I called this guy. And this guy, this is not even a joke. I kid you not. This guy says to me, hey man, I ordered an Uber so that I don't have to think about this stuff, okay? I ordered here so that I don't have to think about what I want here. What it's like, for one, he had to pick what he wanted, right? The initial flavor. But now that I'm calling him up to tell him, hey, they don't have the flavor that you wanted. What other flavors do you want? Or what other flavor do you want? They have this, they have that, they have this, they have that. He had such a hard time trying to figure out what flavor he wanted, to the point that he actually didn't tell me a flavor that he wanted. And you know what he said? He says he orders so that he doesn't have to think about it, so that you, so that we take care of it. I'm just a delivery person. I was just delivering food for people, but this person says he orders from Uber or DoorDash so that he doesn't have to think about this stuff. That's crazy. I mean, we're talking about what flavor of milkshake do you want? And you don't want to, it's too much to think about. Yeah. So for some people, for a good bit of people, having to think is actually a lot to ask for them. But my thing is, the more you think, the easier it is to present yourself in the in such a way that is more honest. If you think about what you're doing, if you think about what you're saying, if later on they come and they question you, they ask you something, they want to interrogate you, whatever, you can just say them like like they are. Say the things the way they are. You don't have to make anything up. You don't have to start adding a whole trail of lies or made up things that you're later going to have to lie more about and just make the line longer, right? If you just say it like it is, you don't have to do that. If you act according to your thoughts and your behavior, or to your thoughts and your beliefs, you don't have to do that later, right? But if you see a lot of times when you're asking people questions, they don't want to answer. Sometimes, so I've had people that have come up to me and they have accused me of something. They have, like, I'm not like, well, not like a legal accusation, okay? But they have accused me of certain things that they said that I did either to them or something, right? And so I start asking questions. How is that, or how is this that? And those people, you realize that, well, at least then, when this happened to me, this person didn't want to answer those questions. That person didn't want to answer to me, how is it that what I did is what you're saying it is? because I'm gonna tell you what really happened. I'm gonna tell you how it went, and you tell me why does that mean that to you? And they don't want to answer these questions. Why? Maybe they don't have an answer because the thing that they did was an emotional thing. And so now, which is the accusation might have been an emotional thing. That means that person was speaking without actually thinking about what they were actually going to say. And when being questioned about it, does what they said have foundations, or have a good foundation? Does it make sense, right? So later, when you start questioning these people, what do? They'll probably get even more angry. But if that person was thinking about what they were saying, then that means that whenever they are questioned about it, they can have a back and forth conversation. I mean, it's sort of what you see happening even like in some philosophical dialogues, right? It's like somebody posts, shares an idea, the other person will either negate that idea and will say the whys and the hows and all this stuff, and then the other person might look at it and be like, no, actually that doesn't work, and this and like, but they are actually thinking more about what they're saying, and that's why they're able to answer questions along the conversation. You see, it's the thought about when you're doing something that will make it easier for you to be able to answer the questions later on. It with this situation, with Kimberly Cheadle being questioned to such extent, and her not having any answers to very critical questions. To if we're gonna be honest, these are critical questions. Okay, but her not having any answers to any of this stuff shows a lot of ignorance in her role. Maybe ignorance in her role as protecting the former president. So while she was protecting the former president, while the Secret Service was protecting the former president on her command, she made mistakes. She made mistakes during this stuff. And it seems like she is ignorant as to how those mistakes were made. And what's crazy is I mean, time passed. Time already passed. There's like what, 9 days since the shooting, from the shooting to the hearing with the Secret Service director. 9 days, and if your job is that that important, like the director of the Secret Service having to protect uh people like the presidents and stuff. I'm not saying that those people are more important, right, than the regular person, but in a sense, these people run a certain level of risk anytime that they go up there, especially some of these politicians. It's like maybe they have any, like, a lot of people that want to get rid of them, right, for different reasons. And these people are the ones that are supposed to defend those people, that are supposed to protect those people. If you have such a critical role, when something like this happens, how long does it take you before you decide that you're going to go get informed about what happened, how did it happen, analyze all this stuff, so that when you are questioned, you know what to say. Okay, you know how to address the situation. I think she's being very careful now. She's being very careful now about what she says and what she doesn't say. And the problem is that now she's not saying anything really that actually helps the case move forward with understanding what really happened. And had decisions been made prior to the hearing, like from her side, right? If she had made deliberate decisions to say, you know what, I gotta make sure that this and that and this and that and this and that is in place, and this and that and this and that is in place, and that I do this and I do that, and like take a deliberate decision to to address the situation that you're being called upon, you would have the details. You would have the answers. You would know, okay, you would know how to behave in a way that actually eases the situation. But instead, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's actually getting worse for her, to the point where everyone's literally calling for her resignation, or a a vote may be held to say, you know what, President, fire this lady now. So it's not going well for her at all. And the thing is, just like in real life situations, just like this is why I wanted to, I was thinking about this when I was watching this, and it's because this stuff that's happening here, when you see how she answers the questions, it's very interesting to see that a lot of people do that on a daily basis, where they will not answer certain questions honestly. They won't. They'll be very dishonest, really. I mean, if you stop at 7-Eleven and your girl asks you, "Hey, why did you take longer from work?" and you're like, "Oh, it's because of traffic or something." It's like, you're already starting. Like it's from that simple to something more critical. Something as critical as this, the hearing with the service the Secret Service director. And I can't tell you how many times I've had, or I've tried to have discussions with certain people, and I ask them certain questions, and even then they just can't answer it, even though we're talking about day-to-day stuff. Like, hey, you said that you said you were gonna be at work today, and that's why you couldn't do this. And it's like, next thing you know, you see them pass with their car, or or there's a someone tells you, hey, yeah, we actually saw that person at the store right around this time. And it's like, hey, the heck, wasn't that person supposed to be at work? They said they wouldn't do this because they're at work, and now you're caught in the lie. So when you go to that person and you say, hey, so this happened and that happened, they won't, they start adding certain things to it instead of just coming out clean, saying what it is, and everything just gets worse. Everything gets worse. And if they don't answer the questions, you can see how a relationship starts to deteriorate. It does. Believe it or not, on a day-to-day basis, um, most humans say a bunch of dishonest comments, or um, they'll behave ignorantly. It's hard to keep awareness to such extent, obviously 24/7 nonstop. And it's because, like I said, maybe it's easier to be ignorant than to actually think about what you're doing and all that stuff. So maybe that's why. But and so I understand that you can't have full awareness. And I mean, full awareness maybe doesn't even exist. I'll explain that. But full awareness, I understand that you can't have a whole lot of awareness like you wish you did throughout the whole day. There's gonna be moments where you become ignorant of something. Like right now, I'm probably being ignorant of some things as I'm right here making the video. So you will not have all the awareness all the time. In fact, you won't, like I said, all the awareness won't come because there are certain things that you're just definitely not able to analyze within certain uh, uh, spectrum and certain aspects, spectrum, within certain aspects of life. There are certain things that you're just not going to be able to account for because you're ignorant to that even being a thing sometimes. So you're never going to get 100% awareness. But could we work towards having more awareness? Yeah, we can. Yes, we can. Could we stop with the freaking little lies that just make us not add, well, yeah, make you add another lie to it, and then you start building a trail, a little tail of lies that eventually you have to break out of because you have so many lies stacked up that it's starting to show. It's starting to show something, It's starting to show that this stuff is like, hey, you can't trust that person. Look at, there's a lot of incoherences, a lot of contradictions, and that kind of stuff. So they're gonna start catching on to you. They will start catching on to you. But it's interesting to see, like, even from an I don't know what her role, or if she had something to do with the actual allowing of this to happen, right? That's a some people are saying so, right? But I don't know if that is how it went. I don't know if she actually was a part of it. But the thing is, if you're gonna go and you're gonna do something like that, you gotta be ready to for this. Like, when you're thinking, if you're thinking, I'm gonna plan this thing, you better be thinking about, if I get caught, what will I do? If I get caught, what will I say? Right? You better be thinking about that, because there's only so many lies that you can say before you actually get caught, especially when they're like on you, when they're trying to get all the details about everything. I mean, and when you have about 10 different people interviewing or interrogating the same person, making sure that you don't slip with everyone. And that's why she would often refer to, talk to that person, not even that person, talk to those people, refer to those people. And she was speaking about the FBI. Hey, so if you something this, something that, you're gonna have to refer to the FBI. And it's like, why don't you have this information? Like, why don't you know? I'm sorry, you're gonna have to refer to the FBI. You know how annoying it is to talk to someone that won't give answers to anything? It's pretty frustrating. It's pretty frustrating. And you can see the frustration in the people interrogating her. You can see the frustration on Congress. You can see the frustration on, like, people that are watching the videos of her being interrogated. You can see the frustration. It's because sometimes you're trying to move forward with something, and something as simple as not answering questions literally stops the whole process. It literally stops the whole process. And in your personal life, you're going to have situations with your sometimes friends, sometimes family, sometimes people at different places, right? And I don't know, maybe somebody that you constantly see at the store or whatnot. You're going to have certain situations. And if you get in an altercation, not even an altercation, but if you get in a conversation with someone and you're telling them, hey, check this out. You just said that, okay, but if this, that, why don't you do this? And it's like they go around and it's like, no, 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 hold on, hold on. I'm not even asking that. But if you're saying this, then why this? And they go, you will never get past that. You will never get past that. Well, maybe you will, but that part won't be addressed. And that's the issue. That's the issue. And the main reason why people can't, like, again, I don't know exactly why Kimberly Cheeto, Kimberly Cheeto, I don't know why she's not answering the questions, right? Some of these, it seems like she knows the answer. Like, she's not saying, I don't know, but she just sends them to talk to someone else. Hey, go talk to that person over there. Don't ask me, when she should know. in real life, well, that is real life, but in our regular lives, not Congress life, not shooting life, not in the regular life, you will find huge difficulty when you talk with people that won't answer. You will you will get so frustrated because you can tell that they're ignoring a particular question that might literally just break down the whole situation that they got going on. And some of these people defend themselves just because they're too emotional to have a good, logical, rational conversation where it's like, hey, you say something about me, you can ask me questions, I'll answer them. I'll ask you questions, you answer them, and we can have a back and forth so we can actually figure this out. It's about time that we think. It's about time that we gain more awareness of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, so that and do them deliberately. Like, when you do them, know you're doing them, accept that you're doing them, and come out with what you did realistically. I don't the need to start creating this false life, because to me it's like a when you start creating a trail of lies, you have derailed from reality. And so, what are you living if it's not real? Because the things you're making up and the things that you're living based on are fake, are false. They're made up things. So what are you living? I don't get that. So I've thought for a long time that a more deliberate life leads to more freedom, because, well, a more deliberate life would also require awareness. So, but a more deliberate life will bring more freedom, because if you're living deliberately, you know why you're doing certain things, and you will have the awareness as to whether or not you should do something. And if you do something that you probably shouldn't be doing, then it'll come. It'll come at some point. It'll come at some point. It'll come to you at some point. They're gonna find out. But a deliberate life feels like it leads to more freedom, because there's less hiding. There's less pretending. There's less like I don't the go to the example of after work you stop at 7-Eleven, your wife asks you, why are you taking longer? And you just say, oh, I stopped at 7-Eleven to get this. Boom, bah, whatever. Right. Next day, you're late, or you're running a little later. You don't have to make anything up anymore, because now you've started to just say what it is. There's no need. And you start, whenever you do something, you can just tell your wife, or you can just tell the person at hand. Why? You are the kind of person that will do something, and that thing that you did, you don't care to say, hey, I did this. That's why I did it. There's some there's a there's some crazy stories out there of people that have killed, that are like serial killers, and they have interviewed them in jail. And some of them, when you talk to them, they might even seem well, some seem psychopathic, because the way they express themselves about what they did is almost like nonsensical. Like, they don't see how bad it really is, kind of a thing. But they don't care to admit it. They don't care to just say what they did. In fact, some of them, whenever they get caught, they don't even try to run away. Some of them are just like, all right, you caught me. I mean, there's nothing else I could do. Just take me. And like that. Those, they know what they were doing. They know what they're doing. And the fact that they have that awareness, and I'm not saying this is good. So I'm not saying have the awareness so you can go do this. All right. Don't freaking, it's not where I'm going. But those people have the awareness of what they're doing to an extent that, or even the awareness of maybe they didn't. No, I mean, you got to be aware of it. But to a certain extent, they had such an awareness that now they can just say things the way they are. They don't. They're not gonna hide. They're not gonna pretend. They're not gonna make up more lies. They 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 know. They already know. So it's like making up all these other things is for what? But somebody who hasn't gotten caught, right? They might be making up all these lies. They might be. They have the awareness, but they'll still be lying. So maybe having awareness doesn't necessarily take you to not lying, but having awareness will definitely take you to being able to say or answer questions when the answers are needed because you're aware. And at some point, it makes more sense to just say things the way they are. For me, it started a while back. And for me, it started a while back that I decided to say it like it is. I found myself frustrated whenever I would get a question and I didn't want to answer it because I was ashamed of what I did or whatnot. But now there's less shame in how I live because when I do something, I'll be more aware of it than before and then decide, okay, if later on something happens and someone's asking me, what did you do? Am I going to be okay with admitting that I did that? Am I going to be okay with uh, saying, oh, yeah, this is what happened and this is why I did it? Am I going to be okay with that? If I'm not going to be okay with it, if I don't like where that would take me, then I can make a different decision. But now I won't have to lie. I won't have to make up anything. I won't have to pretend. I can just be myself. I can uh, just do what I do, walk the walk and talk the talk, like they say. But it was very interesting. It was very interesting to see the lack of knowledge about particular things this person showed to an extent that is like if I was talking to somebody here in my regular life, it's like, how do you not know why you this and why you that? And they want to say, I don't know, or I like, they won't answer. And here, similar stuff. I don't know, or I don't want to answer. It just kind of put it on the spot, really. And I know this is a bigger issue. But my thing is that this type of behavior happens from very down here to way up here. And the more awareness we build within ourselves, the easier it is to sit in a particular place, get questions asked, and have the answers for them. And if you really don't know, you can say truly, I don't know, and explain the whys you don't know that. Because if you say, I don't know about something so huge like this, they would ask you, well, why don't you know? How come you don't know if you should be the person that, and then you would have to say, okay, well, see, the thing is, I was doing this and then this and blah, 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 and explain yourself. I don't know. I won't answer. Refer to that person. ask that person when you're the one that should know, because this is literally your role or your life. How do you not know this? To a regular human, when someone's to our regular day-to-day situations, if someone doesn't know why they did something, that talks about their ignorance and even them knowing themselves. Like, if you don't know why you did something, that talks about how little you know about yourself, how little you know about your desires, your beliefs, your your what would you call it? Your I'm missing the word, but it just talks about how little you know about yourself and how well can somebody conduct themselves through life when they don't even know why they want the things they want. Hmm? It's not very easy to play a game when you don't know the rules to the game. It's very difficult. Imagine playing chess and you don't even know the rules. You don't even know how to move the pawns. You don't even know how to move the you don't even know how the queen operates maybe in chess or something. So how are you gonna play the game if you don't know the rules? You can play it, sure, you can play it, but not very good. You're gonna lose probably fairly quick, and that's what starts to happen when we don't play the game of life right. And that would be an interesting topic. What is the right way to play the game of life? Hmm? But if you don't know the rules, or if you don't understand certain things about life, how good are you going to be at this? It's a simple question, right? I'm sure you can answer that question. You can answer that question. How good are you going to be at the game of life if you don't understand anything, or you don't understand major points about the main player? The main player, which is you. Hmm? That's right. Understanding ourselves is a major part in our society, in our lives, in our existence. Understanding humans altogether is very important. The fact that most people actually don't take the time to understand themselves, to know why they believe the things they believe, or to know why, to ask themselves, why did I behave in such a way at a particular time, so that then later they can behave better. It's amazing the fact that most people can't do that. Most people don't have self-reflection. Most people don't think about why they said something, and if anything, they'll just justify why they said something. And there's a huge difference between justifying what you said or what you did versus explaining why you said something or why you did something. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between just expressing what really went down and that's what led to you making that decision. Very different than saying, I'm justifying my behavior. Those two things are very, very hugely different. Okay. And sometimes the truth can justify the behavior, but it's not like you're using what actually happened as mere justification for the situation. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Some people will just say, "Oh, you're just justifying yourself." And in reality, you're saying it like it is. So if that's justification, maybe it makes sense. And some people will think justification means it doesn't make sense, but it might. It might make sense. But there is a type of justification that is just to try to wave away what you did because of the whys. And the whys don't make sense. You're trying to justify your behavior at that point. See, there's a huge difference between those two. I've gone for 45 minutes. This video really made me think because it took me back. Well, this video, the hearing, it really took me back to talking to someone and asking them particular questions and not getting answers to them, and just seeing how things are playing out here with the hearing, and how on day-to-day life these very things also apply. Like you don't have to be careful about what you say or do and how you behave based on your your expertise or your level of importance, the level of importance of a job that you have. Like, you don't have to start thinking about what you say and do then. You have to start thinking about what you say and do now. Everyone, everywhere, anywhere. Yeah. Like, it doesn't just apply to something as critical as a hearing after the president what was there was an attempt to kill the president. You know, it's not just about when things hit the peak. You might not even need to get to that peak. That's the thing. At least for a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of people that lose relationships, friendships, because they just can't be freaking honest. They can't be honest, or they can't actually have a conversation with the person, and it just makes everything worse. Just like things are getting worse for here, the director of the Secret Service. Things are getting worse, and the less she answers, the worse they get. And that's literally in relationships too. We just don't think about that too much. We don't. We should, but we don't. Maybe it's because, like I said, it's easier to be ignorant than it is to think. Maybe a lot of us, well, maybe a lot of people are just trying to order food through Uber so they don't have to think. Maybe most people are like that. Maybe most people are those kind of people. I'd rather just order it here so I don't have to think. Like in Netflix, a few years back, they actually had a thing where it's like you would go into so you have the thumbnails, and they had a thumbnail that would just on its own randomize and just out of everything pick something and then just play for you, so that you didn't have to go through the whole catalog and pick for yourself. It will choose it for you. Let's remove the ability to think from all humans, shall we? It's insane. I'll leave it at that. Anyways, the main thing is we won't get to like awareness, 100% awareness. That's unfathomable. You cannot physically it's not possible to physically or mentally be aware of all things. So you will never be 100% aware of everything. But you can be very, very, very extremely aware of yourself and certain things that surround you and decisions that you make. And these are things to strive for, like a utopia. It's not to say, hey, you're gonna be the superhuman that Nietzsche's trying to talk about, but you can be something that strives towards something of such magnitude. And it'll be like a Shoot for the stars and you'll land in the moon kind of stuff. You will not be perfect, but you will be better. You will be. I'll see you guys on the next video. This was a good little chat. Um, got a little got a little it got a little too long. I'm trying to get better at these live things, and there's a comment that early on said, "Why are you so anxious? Please calm down." Yeah, and yeah. Some people don't understand that you start somewhere, right? But we're gonna keep getting better at this. First We Live is something I'm working. Well, First We Live is something I'm working on. Um, but First We Live are the lives here, and I will get better at this. Right now, I'm in the middle of trying to relocate. So once all that is said and done, I'm gonna set up my gear so that when I go live, maybe I play a little something here, a little tune, and some audios from different things. Like, it would have been nice to show you guys some of the audios here from the hearing, right? So you guys can see what I'm talking about. But later, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Meanwhile, just gonna continue doing lives because less production, and with a hectic life that I got going on right now, this is best. Well, I hope you guys take care. Um, I wanted to talk. Yeah, no, it's too. We'll save that for another time. All right, take care, guys. Name a car for an edit. Name a car for an edit. I'll tell you which car. 1967. 1965 to 1967 Corvette. See you guys on the next video. It's not coming out.